In the previous chapters, you learned about the bundle of rights that make up property ownership and how those rights can be divided, limited, or transferred. Now we move into understanding interests and estates in land, the building blocks of ownership itself. Every real estate transaction, lease, or right of way is based on an interest held by one or more parties. Knowing who holds what interest and for how long is essential to understanding how property law functions in the real world. An interest in real estate is a legal right, claim, or privilege that a person has in property. Interests represent the degree of ownership or control that someone has in a parcel of land. Some interests are temporary, while others are permanent. For example, a homeowner who owns their house outright holds all rights in the property, while a tenant renting an apartment has a temporary interest limited to occupancy and use. A lender may have a financial interest in the same property through a mortgage, giving them the right to take ownership if the borrower fails to make payments. An undivided interest occurs when two or more people share ownership of the same property. Undivided means that each owner has equal rights to the entire property, rather than to a specific part of it. If two people own a 10-acre parcel together, one cannot claim ownership of the north 5 acres while the other claims the south. Both share ownership and equal access to all 10 acres. This concept is common in co-ownership arrangements, such as joint tenancy or tenancy in common, where the law recognizes equal rights across the whole property rather than physical divisions of land. Interests can differ in several ways. They may vary in duration, such as temporary leases or lifelong ownership, in location, such as surface, subsurface, or air rights, or by type, meaning whether the interest is private or public. Another key difference is whether the interest includes possession of the property. Interests that allow possession are called estates in land, while those that do not are known as encumbrances. A person who holds an estate in land has the right to occupy or use it. For instance, a homeowner has a freehold estate because ownership and possession are indefinite. A tenant, on the other hand, has a leasehold estate, temporary possession without ownership. Both enjoy the right of possession, but the homeowner's rights are permanent, while the tenants are limited to the term of the lease. When a person or organization holds an interest in land without possession, it is considered a non-possessory interest, or encumbrance. Encumbrances give someone the power to affect another's property rights without owning or occupying it. For example, a mortgage lien gives a lender a financial claim against a property until the debt is paid. An easement allows a utility company to access land to maintain equipment. And an encroachment occurs when a neighbor's fence or structure crosses a property boundary. Each limits the owner's freedom in some way without transferring possession. In addition to private interests, public interests allow governments to control property for the benefit of society. These interests do not give the government possession, but they grant the authority to regulate, tax, or acquire property. The most common example is police power, which allows cities and counties to regulate how land is used through zoning laws, building codes, and environmental protections. Another example is eminent domain, which gives the government the right to acquire private land for public purposes, such as highways or schools, as long as fair compensation is paid. Public interests ensure that land is used safely, efficiently, and fairly to meet community needs. Every property in the United States is affected by multiple interests at the same time. For instance, a homeowner might hold full ownership. A bank may have a mortgage lien, the city may regulate land use through zoning, and a utility company might hold an easement to maintain power lines. Together, these overlapping interests shape what the owner can and cannot do with their property. Examples of interests in real estate. An owner who enjoys the complete bundle of rights has full ownership. A tenant who leases an apartment has the right to occupy and exclude others during the lease term. A lender has an encumbrance through a mortgage that secures repayment of a loan. A contractor may file a mechanic's lien if not paid for services, temporarily restricting the owner's ability to sell the property. A buyer under contract holds an equitable interest until the sale is completed, preventing the seller from transferring the property to someone else. A mining company may temporarily own subsurface rights to extract minerals. A city holds public interest through zoning and the right of eminent domain. A utility company holds an easement, allowing it to enter private land to maintain power lines or pipelines. Each of these examples illustrates how property ownership is rarely absolute. Ownership is more like a bundle of shared, overlapping rights that exist simultaneously among multiple parties. Recognizing who holds what rights and how they interact is the key to understanding real estate ownership. Review summary. In this chapter, you learned that an interest in land represents a legal claim or right held by an individual, group, or government. Interests are categorized as possessory estates or non-possessory encumbrances. A possessory interest includes the right to occupy and use property, while a non-possessory interest restricts or influences ownership without possession. Governments hold public interests through zoning, taxation, and eminent domain, ensuring land serves the public good. Private interests such as liens, easements, and co-ownership divide property rights among individuals and organizations. Understanding these relationships allows real estate professionals to identify potential conflicts, explain title conditions, and guide clients effectively through ownership transactions. Discussion. Why is the distinction between an estate and an encumbrance important? Answer. Because an estate includes the right of possession, while an encumbrance limits ownership without giving possession, helping determine who controls or uses the property. How do public interests differ from private interests in real estate? Answer. Public interests serve the community's welfare through government powers like zoning and eminent domain, while private interests benefit individuals such as owners, tenants, or lenders. Can two people own the same property at once? Answer. Yes. Through undivided interests, co-owners share ownership of the entire property without dividing it into physical parts. Why are easements significant in real estate? Answer. Easements give someone limited access to another's land for a specific purpose, such as installing or maintaining utilities, without transferring ownership. Closing remarks. Real estate ownership is not simply about who holds the title. It is about how rights are layered, shared, and balanced between owners, tenants, lenders, and governments. Understanding interests and estates in land equips real estate professionals with the knowledge to analyze ownership structures, recognize potential title issues, and explain how different interests affect use and value. Every property is shaped by these layers of legal relationships, and mastery of these concepts ensures that transactions are handled with precision, clarity, and fairness.